Welcome back, Saber fans, and we are now in part 2 of wiring a Nano biscotte version 3. Now, you may remember last time that we were at this stage where we had just gotten all our wires soldered on, and we were just shrink tubing everything so it was nice and clean and easy to put in the hilt, and we were testing to make sure that everything worked. I know before you probably didn't get a very good look at what I had done on the board, so here is kind of a close-up. Now you'll see here I have our two speaker wires on the right hand side. We have our switch wire next to that. Then we have our flash on clash wire, which is the white. Then next to that is our negative wire for our main LED color. Past that is two black wire. Now one of those black wires is running to our switch wire, so that way we have a negative return. The other black wire here is running out to our recharge port. Then we have a blue wire underneath here on the same pad that is running for our other switch wire, so we'll make a return. Now for our LED side, we have one red wire over here on the positive pad, and then there's another red wire that is running to our recharge port down here. Now again, this may look a little scary, but once it goes in the hilt, it becomes a lot easier to find. You may have seen this hilt on the vault. This is my reproduction of the Savior. And already we have our LED wires wired in and shrink tubed. We just did that because that's a pretty easy step. Should be able to run your wires and figure out which ones go where. And now, remember before we said we had our switch wires. We had two blue and our red and black. And then our recharge port, we have our two red, one blue, and one black. Now those are all ran through here. And now we can just do some quick trimming because we don't need this huge amount of lead here. Well, we do want to leave a little bit, just so if you ever need to do a repair or have somebody else work on it, when may it'll be fine. And now on here, you don't need to take off a whole heck of a lot because you're working on such a small area. Maybe 1/8 of an inch. That's about all you need. And again, we are going to tin our wires that we just stripped. And now for our lit switch, we need to trim off some of our little prongs because these are really long and you don't need this much. Just need to go down a little bit past the hole. And you might want to wear some eye protection because these things fly at a high rate when you cut them off. Probably annoy the cat if you have one. So that's what we're down to. We can still see on here clearly what each one is. We're just going to put a little bit of solder on there just to make it easier when we're going to solder this guy together. And at this point, you may want to use some helping hands depending on how new you are to doing this. But we are going to start with our positive and negative for our switch wire. Trim off that little excess there so it's nice and flat. Now we're going to do the same thing to our recharge port. So we don't need these big gopping extra pieces on there. Again, keep the cat back, wear some eye protection. Just going to put a little bit of solder on these pads here. Make it that much more easier to solder them to. Now, for these wires, when you're trimming them, don't trim your blue wire and your red wires together, because that's just going to make a spark and it'll fry out your board and it won't be a pretty day. And you'll be all mad, probably. What I'm doing is I'm trimming my 2 red ones first. I'm just going to take a little bit off. Make these 2 hug each other. Like so. A little bit of tin. And that's on there. Now, going to do our black wire. And I'm going to leave the blue covered because I just want to make sure we're not going to have any accidents. Now the black wire doesn't matter if it touches the red. It's perfectly fine. It's not going to give any guff. But this setup here ensures that with the black wire in between the red wire here, the blue wire is going to go on this side. This is to make sure that even when you put this in the hilt, there's no way that this blue wire could ever touch that red wire because the black wire is in the way. It's just a little extra safety precaution. And we have boot up. And as promised, we have a lit switch. Now, to make sure that it actually fires up. Hopefully that was helpful and it wasn't too loud and I wasn't too boring. So, yay.